I was trying to decide what video to do. For the first video I would do if I eventually return, to making content again. I mean, this doesn't mean that this whole video is a sign that, hey, Wolf is back to putting out videos again weekly. Not really. Hey, not really. I'm just here to just talk about a video, talk about a movie, basically, because I feel like that seems more fitting. And I was trying to figure out, what do I do? What do I talk about? What do I say? Should I talk about that Rebel Moon trailer that came out? No. Let's talk about a movie that connects to my heart, that pulls on the heartstrings a bit. Not like Logan. No, Logan made me cry. um, could you imagine this all started because of a leak? I mean, seriously, I don't know if we would have been here today if it weren't for that leak, probably. I don't know. Maybe we would have. Maybe we would have gotten a Deadpool movie without this one person who leaked this test footage a long time ago and put it on YouTube for all of us to see back in good old, what was it, 2011 or 2012, I think this happened. Imagine a young me on his grandpa's computer, going on YouTube, watching a bunch of videos from machinima, and then all of a sudden he stumbles upon the Deadpool test footage, basically. And that was my first exposure to what Deadpool really was. Not a killer assassin that was made out of a lab and who used to be a fucking annoying talker who would never shut up, and then he got his mouth shut closed, and then after that Wolverine and his brother Sabretooth goes and tries to kill him. That was my first introduction to the fake Deadpool. Oh, and I never understood why people hated Origins, and people said because they ruined Deadpool, and I never knew who Deadpool really was at the time. Again, I will tell you this, I was never the biggest Marvel Comics fan when I was a kid. I was more into DC, and if I ever did read a Marvel comic, it would be only the few characters I knew because of movies. Spider-Man, X-Men, Fantastic Four, Blade, those things. Daredevil and Elektra I never did, but I always had my mains. And usually the two superheroes I would always read would be Spider-Man or Wolverine. Those were my two favorite Marvel superhero characters when I was a kid. I loved Wolverine and I loved Spider-Man when I was a kid. I always loved them. I thought they were the best superheroes ever. And I still have these collection of comics I have in my room, and I have an issue of Spider-Man, a Spider-Man comic issue that shows the first appearance of Punisher. I have this Wolverine comic where he teams up with Captain America, and that there was other comics I have like the Hulk. Yeah, that's another superhero right now that I also have. I have all these superhero comics of basically heroes I knew, but never really gave a shit about any other superhero after that. Didn't care about Iron Man or whatever. Captain America was like, if he was there, he was there, basically. But those were those few Marvel comics I had. Those were the closest things I had to knowing what the Marvel universe was. I wasn't too deep in Marvel lore, because usually you don't know which lore you're looking at. Either you're looking at the original or New 52, whatever. There's always different timelines that you see in comics, and I was never into deep into these lore. I was with DC because again they had the Justice League, so of course I knew a lot more because again the DC animated shows were a lot better than Marvel shows. I mean, I'm sorry, I want to be real here about that. Sure, you got, X-Men, you got Spider-Man in the 90s. These cartoons were the best. I love those cartoons. 90s Spider-Man, 90s freaking X-Men. Those were the coolest Marvel shows out there, and those theme songs were fucking killer. When I first listened to them. Just hearing that X-Men theme play every night when on TV when the reruns start, and you hear that and then you hear Spider-Man's theme, which goes Spider-Man, Spider-Man, radioactive Spider-Man. That was cool. That was my shit back then. Now, why am I taking a trip down this memory lane of whatever of my childhood to talk about Marvel stuff? Well, it's because, man, we're here. We're here. When I was a kid, I saw the X-Men wearing that ridiculous black leather that Bryan Singer made them wear. Thank God that man is no longer in control of the X-Men anymore, because he really, really ran it to the ground. Now, he had 2 X-Men movies, and those 2 were okay. The first 2, I would say. I mean, I liked X2 better, but I guess that was because X2 was more of a focus on Wolverine than than the other X-Men. And I did like X-Men 3 when I was a kid. I'm not going to lie to you. I enjoyed X-Men 3 when it came into the big screens and I saw Beast played by Kelsey Grammer. And then you see the Juggernaut crashing through, and then Kitty Pryde just trying to outsmart him and shit. It was it was amazing to see on the big screen. That was a big deal. A big deal. That was an MCU kind of thing moment. I was at the drive-in, and you see a bunch of cars lined up together in the drive-in, and this was this big event to see this one X-Men movie. Everyone was so amped. I was there. You hear those kids in the background, when they saw Beast, they were like, Beast! They were excited. They were like, holy shit, it's Beast. It was big for people to see that on the big screen. That was our MCU that was our MCU kind of excitement. All those crowds of people having fun, just enjoying the movie, not complaining, no Twitter to go and show a bunch of people complain about a fucking movie and then just post it online. I'm pretty sure Twitter was not in existence, or it was in infancy during the time, because the internet was technically fairly the Wild West back then. Before the what was it? The before we got taken over by woke culture. Joking. No, it got taken over by idiots. It's that just love to complain a lot. That's all I'll say. Hey, for legal reasons, it's a joke. I just love that experience of people enjoying a movie, having fun, being in that crowd of people that just wanted to like have fun, you know? Like you're at that moment where you're in that theater and you are having a great time as everyone else is. And you are just like thinking, yeah, this movie's good. Everyone loves this movie. Everyone is having a good time in this theater. Like you feel that energy. Yeah, if you know what I'm saying. I've seen all these Marvel movies at the comfort of my home or in the theater. I see the first Spider-Man and X-Men movies at the comfort of my home. And then when the new ones came out, like Spider-Man 2 and Last Stand, I got to see them in the theater and I had a wonderful time. A few movies I couldn't see as a kid, but you know, I seen them in technically passing, as in like I eye it, kind of like a kid who peeks and sees what movie their parents are watching, even though he's not allowed to see it. I saw Blade, mainly Blade 2. I mean, I saw some of the first Blade, but since it was like technically my dad just repeating the horrific parts that he would use to scare me, I would just run. But Blade 2 I've seen in passing, and I saw like Blade just like fighting this one vampire, and she's like fucking like martial art like kung fu kicks at this motherfucker, and I was like, holy shit. Blade is Blade is kicking ass over here. Yeah. Daredevil I wasn't like the biggest fan of. I was like on Daredevil. Oh, I mean, the only. It's funny. I never saw the Daredevil movie as a kid, but I did see Elektra. I did see Elektra. It was on TV in on the movie channels, and I saw that movie when I was young. And believe me, that is probably the first time. Not even joking. First time I was like saying that's allowed. And if you want to know why I said that's allowed, like that can happen. You can do that. It's because this is stupid. It's because that's the first time I saw two women making out, and I was like thinking, oh really? That could happen. You could do that. Because usually it's like man and woman, and I just cover my eyes on that because I was like, whatever. But then you see woman and woman kissing, it's like, really, you could do that. I was like, huh. The more you know. That's what I was like, the more you know. Yeah, I see that. Like all these Marvel movies made by Fox or by New Line Cinema, which Blade's New Line Cinema. All these Marvel movies from Fox, even Fantastic Four. I seen Fantastic Four in the theater actually as a kid. I saw that. I only saw one of them. I don't think I saw the second one in the theater. I'm pretty sure I didn't see the second one in the theater. But I did see the first one in the theater when I was young. And all those movies I thought were good. Like, I thought these were good movies. I thought there was no problems with them. They're all great movies. They're fun. I like these movies. They are great movies that had great characters. They have good action. I was like, that was like me as a kid thinking that, not even thinking about flaws or plot holes or anything. I was just living in the moment. And as much as I see the flaws now in these movies of like, huh? Or like, why? They're still fun to watch. Like, you're not going to say they're the best. They're not the best. Of course they're not. But when you grew up with them, you have that soft spot for those movies. I mean, some movies you're not gonna like anymore, and you're just gonna say, oh, that was garbage. I didn't like that film. My opinion has changed on it. Then that's gonna happen. But the movies that I watched that still, that I say, oh, there's problems with this movie, obviously. With me saying, like, for example, me saying about the Fantastic Four movies, I was like, oh, Tim Story is not a good director when it comes to action. He isn't. I've seen his action movies. He's not that great at filming action. He really isn't. And I was like, oh, he's more focused on comedy than he is on action. And he was. It was basically just a sitcom of this group of superheroes that would just bicker and complain, and then a joke happens, and it was less like saving people, kind of like superhero movies. But there was an enjoyment with it. I say, like, even though that's the flaw of it, it's less of a superhero movie, more of a comedy. There's still some things I like about it. I still think there was good character building in that movie. I think with Ben Grimm as the Thing, coming to grips of like losing his fiance, and then trying to figure out, like, everyone's viewing him as a monster until he meets a girl that's blind, and then she likes him for who he is despite she can't see him, which was nice. um I did like, there was like a lot of like that development, like you felt like the pain of the Thing, you felt his pain, you felt him feeling hurt, despite he has like a lot of those gags where he cannot hold objects, where he cannot do certain things because of his rock hands. But people would view that as like, oh, it's filmed to be funny. And my different perspective was, as a kid, like, no, this is filmed to be sad. Like, people would just like, oh, it's filmed and it's funny, like the way it's played off. But I viewed it as sad as a kid. I was like, God, that sucks. Like, I felt bad for that dude for the longest time. And I thought that movie did perfectly to show uh, the pain he goes through being the one who got the short end of the stick in the superpowers, because he can't do all the normal things he could do regularly when he was just human. So yeah, that's my take on that. Because if it was me now, or me as a teenager, I would have been cynical. I would have been like, "Oh, this movie's trash. Oh, this is disgusting. I don't like it. It's lame." Then yeah, I probably would have had a different interpretation of it, probably. But mainly cynical teenager me would have. Um, Now, why? Again, why am I talking about this? Well, at the end of Deadpool and Wolverine, they showed like a montage of all the Fox Marvel movies. And I feel like that tugs in the heartstrings, honestly. It really does. Seeing all that behind the scenes footage of the first X-Men movie, seeing Hugh Jackman in his first big Hollywood role as Wolverine back in the 2000s, seeing Ryan Reynolds passionately talk about him wanting to be Deadpool, even though he's in a shitty movie called X-Men Origins Wolverine. I mean, you see those years ago, them young and them full of hope and dreams and scared that they were gonna mess up this these beloved characters that people have been reading for years. It's beautiful to see that they are here right now in this moment. Surprised probably that they are still playing these characters to this day. Like, you never thought they would be there. And I don't have much to say about this. I say it's a good movie. And this is me spoiling the film because of the cameos and everything in there. The cameos that everyone already knew, Sabretooth, or yeah, everyone knew Elektra was going to be there also. And Toad and Pyro. Like a lot of those people we already knew that were going to be in the movie. And of course, Hugh Jackman back as Wolverine again, but as a different Wolverine variant, which was pretty cool to see, which shocked me that all the Wolverine variants were still Hugh Jackman, except for one. Except for one. And I'm sorry to tell you this, people, it's not Daniel Radcliffe. It's not him. I'm sorry. The spoiler is on that one is that it was Henry Cavill, which looks completely off as Wolverine. Because it just looks like Wolverine if he was built like Superman. I'm sorry, that's what it looks like. It just looks like, I was like, what? That's a Superman Wolverine. It kind of shocked me. I was like thinking, oh, I thought they were going to show different types of Wolverine, but no, it was just Hugh Jackman across the board. Unlike the Deadpools, who was Ryan Reynolds' wife, which we already knew that one, Lady Deadpool, and a few other Deadpool variants. And yeah, sorry people, there's no Gwenpool. She didn't make the cut. Sorry, she didn't make the cut at all. And there was a lot of cameos that I never expected to see. I mean, I could have wished that the final trailer for Deadpool and Wolverine didn't come out, and we didn't. And I feel like we should have had that. We should have had that exciting moment to see Laura back, to see X-23 back, and to be played by Daphne Keane again, and which really makes me feel old because she was very like small. Like she was a kid when she did Logan. Is 2017 that long ago? Jesus. And she's 19 now. That makes me feel old now. Like that time passed by real quick. I'm like, when was she born? 2005? Now I feel really old. Jesus. Ah. But it was cool to see her back. Cool to see her back as X-23. I mean, I could have wished for more action scenes with her, but can't be all greedy because again, you're living in a movie where you have to at least try to get more screen time for each actor as much as you can. So it's hard to do team ups like that when you have so many cameos. But I think the biggest one for me when I watched the movie was Blade. Just seeing just seeing Wesley Snipes back as Blade, back with the sunglasses. I really wish he did the smile that Blade usually does in his movies. Like, I really wish he did the smile. That would have that would have made me so like happy just to see him smile and do his stupid little fist pump 90s fist pump thing he did in the first Blade movie. But we did get some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill. So that was that was enough for me. That was enough for me. I was like, I'm sold. You made me happy. Eh, and one freaking line that I was like, you're right. I said when Wesley Snipes said the line, there's only one blade. I hate. And that's me. I'm the real Blade. There's only one blade. I was like, yes, you are. I don't think anyone else could top you. I bet Wesley Snipes was so excited when he heard, like, probably Marvel when they called him up and say, "Hey, Wesley, you want to come back as Blade?" And he was like, yes. As I do agree with Wesley Snipes. There's only one Blade. Who cares about that Blade from that TV show, live action TV show from long ago, that G4 produced, I think. That one doesn't count. Who cares? Mahershala Ali never got his start as Blade, sadly. I mean, he wanted to play the character, but then Marvel doesn't even know what the fuck to do with the character. They're like confused. They're like rewriting that script constantly over and over again, and they're not sure what to do with the movie. So much so that Mahershala Ali dropped out being Blade. And I remember Wesley Snipes talking in an interview, or he was tweeting about it online. He said like, hey, never knew. He just looked at Marvel and he's like, wow, didn't think it would be that hard to do a Blade movie, huh? Which shouldn't be hard. How hard is it to make a freaking Blade movie? Like, he's Blade. He's cool. He hunts vampires. He's a badass. He knows martial arts. All you need is cool action scenes. And he has to stop whatever vampire he has to come across. Hell, maybe they had a problem because Sony won't let go of Morbius. Maybe that's why they can't let go of Morbius. Morbius is stuck with freaking Sony. Did you know that Morbius was supposed to be the villain for Blade 2, but they scrapped that idea because test audiences hated the ending to the original ending to Blade? They had a teaser for who the next villain was going to be, and it was Morbius, and they never did it. Sucks, but what are you going to do? Probably nothing. Who knows? I thought that, but still, again, I was really excited to see like Wesley Snipes back as Blade, back in the shades, back in the black. He wasn't wearing his coat, his trench coat though, which was sad, but it was still cool to see him in his armor again that he wears in the movies. And also make a joke about hating to work with Ryan Reynolds. That actually, the more I think about it, yeah, that actually shocks me that he actually agreed to do this movie after he did not like working with Ryan Reynolds in uh in Blade Trinity. I guess he got over it, or at least he was like, if this is the closest thing I'm going to get to coming back as Blade, and it's not a travesty like Blade Trinity, then I'm in. He probably was like thinking that. He was like thinking, I can't let Blade end in Trinity. I gotta I gotta let it end in Deadpool and Wolverine. At least a good movie to send off Blade. Hey, hey, that that must have been his intention. And if he comes back, you know what? I would be happy if they make another Blade movie, like an old Blade movie. Because it looks like Wesley Snipes still got his kicks. Like, he still got his martial arts kicks that he does in the Blade movies. It looks like he's still got it. He's got his freaking, like, is it a glaive? I think it's a glaive. No, it's not a glaive. A glaive is three blades on it, right? What's his thing called then? I forgot what his thing. The thing he froze. It's like a boomerang. He like froze it, and then he kills a bunch of people, and it comes back to him. What is it? Is it a glaive? No, it's not a glaive. The glaive is different, isn't it? I don't know. It's gonna bother me until I figure out what that thing is. It's just cool to see him fight again, even with Jennifer Garner still like she still like knows her Elektra training from the movies. That one also was like, wow, she's still fighting. She still got it, kind of. I mean, maybe she had a stunt double in some of the shots. Who knows? But yeah, even like Daphne Keane, who was probably doing this and the Acolyte at the same time, probably. And she's like, and I'm guessing like she probably didn't have time to do like another like stunt, like choreographed scene, because she probably had to focus on like the lightsaber choreography for Acolyte, which I have seen. The choreography is good in Acolyte. It's just filmed poorly, in my opinion. Uh, and so probably she didn't do much fight scenes because of that, is what I'm guessing after I'm realizing talking about this. But still, it was cool to see them fight against all those villains from all those Fox and Warner Brothers Marvel films. Uh, so there, which sucks that they didn't show Punisher. That's the sad thing. But Punisher's Lionsgate, I don't know if Lionsgate was gonna let go of Punisher. Oh, but they already did let go of Punisher. Well, let go of the Thomas Jane Punisher. And they were talking about which Punisher is that with the rocket launcher. And I was trying to think, did Thomas Jane have the rocket launcher or was it Ray Stevenson? Because maybe they wanted Ray Stevenson and not Thomas Jane in Deadpool and Wolverine, but Ray Stevenson sadly passed. But people say he was a great Punisher in Warzone, and I agree, he is great in Punisher Warzone. I never would have watched that movie if it wasn't for like Angry Joe after Ray Stevenson sadly passed, and he said that he had the best Punisher movie. I was like, really? I thought the movie looked bad when I saw the trailer, and I watched it and was like, that was actually a pretty cool Punisher movie. I enjoyed that. I judged too soon. Uh, so sucks that we didn't get to see any Punisher. That's kind of sad. But what can you do? When you're flooded with cameos, you probably would have. That probably would have been overwhelming. I mean, we already got Chris Evans not back as Captain America. I mean, you can guess who he comes back as. As I would have laughed if it was all the Fantastic Four crew coming back. I mean, not Michael Chiklis. Michael Chiklis probably wouldn't agree to do it, to be back as the Thing. But I could definitely see the actor who plays Mr. Fantastic coming back. I mean, hell, you probably think that man would be tired playing the villain a lot in a lot of these fucking B movies he's in, like mainly freaking Rock movies he's a villain. In the recent Bad Boys movie he's a villain. Jesus. I'm rambling. This is less of a review. This is more of a like me reminiscing on the past and just going in rambles. uh but yeah, this is so I do, but if I'm reviewing this, I say I did enjoy the movie. I mean, it's clear that I enjoy the film. I haven't talked about mainly Deadpool and Wolverine. I love them. There's nothing much to say. They're just basically a buddy cop movie. You got the comedic relief, and you got the serious. You got the serious one. You got the serious type character in the movie, and you see them play off really well with each other, especially seeing like Hugh Jackman back as Wolverine in one way or another, whatever short Superman or badass 80s version, or the I forgot what Deadpool said, the other version of Wolverine when Wolverine was fighting the Hulk, which you didn't see the Hulk fight. They just referenced it. They showed Hulk, and that was it. And then they leave. I mean, it's already a long enough movie. You don't have to increase the runtime just to see a Wolverine and Hulk fight. And then you see the other one who finally has the blue and yellow costume that everyone wanted from him in the beginning. And yes, those sleeves do come off eventually, and you see his ripped muscles, his like ripped like pecs and everything in the movie. You get to see all that in its full glory. I just the funny thing is, I love that the stupid theory is that people said is that, oh, they CGI'd the mask. So when you see the scenes in the movie with him without the mask, they clearly CGI'd it out with Hugh Jackman's face. I mean, I don't think they're all the way true about that, because half the scenes we see in the trailers are trailers before he wore the mask. Maybe, did they show the Deadpool and Wolverine versus all the Deadpool variants seen in the trailer? I don't remember if they did. Because if they did, and then there's Hugh Jackman's face exposed, then okay, then maybe they did do that. But he wears that mask at the end of the movie, and I can tell you this, it's awesome. It's cool. He got to finally wear that mask. He finally got to wear that damn mask. That damn suit. He finally got to wear it after horrible months of years seeing him just wear that black leather that everyone hates. I mean, cool that we got to see him in his white tank top, his jeans, and his leather jacket. That's also an iconic Wolverine look that we got, and that's cool too. But people still wanted to see him in yellow spandex, and we finally freaking got that. Fuck you, Bryan Singer. Everyone wanted the yellow spandex. No one wanted black leather. I don't know why we thought black leather was the thing. Hell, I think Spider-Man proved to us that we don't need to edgify our superheroes. Like, Spider-Man freaking showed us that. Spider-Man showed us, like, oh, you don't need that. You don't need that at all. Just have your goofy comic book costume, and everyone will love it. I mean, how many people do you think were excited when they saw that Spider-Man trailer in the movie theater and him capturing bad guys in a spider web in between the Twin Towers, and they saw the suit and they were like, "Oh my god, that's awesome!" And they were like so excited, so hyped. Like everyone was like jumping out of their seats, throwing their popcorn everywhere. Everyone excited to see that new Spider-Man movie, and then, well, you already know what happened the following year after that. And they pulled that trailer out of the theater to make a new one, sadly. Hey, Spider-Man never appeared in that movie, which is sad. But then again, we already had our Spider-Man moment with Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, so we were cool. We are cool. We're fine. And I guess Sony was too far up their ass to say, no Spider-Man. Forget Spider-Man. We are doing Spider-Man justice in our Sonyverse. They're not. Phil Lord and Chris Miller are with Spider-Verse. But Sony, they're not doing anything right. And I am very talkative. This is weird. But yeah, I love that this movie does Wolverine justice. James Mangold's mad that, like, Hugh Jackman is back as Wolverine, saying, like, it kind of ruins, like, that moment in Logan that, Logan died and everyone's sad that he died and he thinks that bastardized kind of the moment. Not really, because Deadpool, disrespectively so, shows that no, that Wolverine is still dead. That Wolverine we saw in Logan, he's still dead. No, he's still dead. We get to see his adamantium skeleton desecrated by Deadpool. After watching Logan again, and then immediately watching Deadpool and Wolverine after, I'm like, Jesus Christ. Had to disrespect the man's grave that a bunch of kids and his daughter made. God. This is a different Wolverine. This is a whole entire different Wolverine. Completely not from the timeline, that the confusing Fox timeline that we have. So it's fine. And Wolverine is probably here to stay. Hugh Jackman is probably here to stay, God knows how long, as Wolverine. Because he retired that character, and now he's back as that character. So I don't know if this is Hugh Jackman's swan song, where he's going to be like, I finally got to wear the yellow spandex. I think I'm done. I don't know if this is his conclusion as Wolverine, or he's coming back. If he's coming back, cool. I would love to see him more in his yellow spandex, or hell, any other Wolverine outfit is acceptable except the fucking black letter. Hell no to that. Just seeing those claws come out of that suit, just like in the comics, is amazing. Even though I've only read a few comics with Wolverine in that costume, and the X-Men cartoon, too, where he's like with those big ass steak knives coming out of there. And then you just see his like title screen, and you just hear yeah. I mean, Logan had more respect in this movie than Charles Xavier. They just snapped his fucking neck in Doctor Strange. So at that point, it's like Patrick Stewart's getting the shit stick, and then Hugh Jackman here is like thriving. Even will I say this movie, the MCU's first R-rated movie ever, which they said, don't worry, we'll not, we're not going to taint Deadpool. We're going to keep him rated R. Don't you worry. I'm going to say there might be a few studio notes, which, yeah, Deadpool does point out that they can't show cocaine in this movie. Clear. There's a few kind of notes I feel like was put into this movie by Kevin Feige, probably, like, you can't do this or you can't do that. A lot of stuff that Deadpool 1 and 2 can get away with, like, easily, and Fox would be like, okay. Like, yeah, you can do that. Yeah, you could show Deadpool getting pegged. And Disney's like, you can only mention pegging. You can't show it like you did in the first movie. I'm sorry. Hey, I'm just reminded of my mom not knowing who Deadpool is, because I said I wanted to see it and she didn't know what it was. She only heard the title and she was like, is it a horror movie? I'm like, no, Mom, it's a comic book movie. And then the poster was right next to the front door of the theater and I showed her, like, look. And she was like, oh. Like, it was the weirdest I've heard from her. It was like that of like kind of like disappointment, confusion, and like relief at the same time. Because she was like, oh, like, thank God this isn't a horror movie. But also, when she saw that poster of Deadpool, she's like, huh. We watched it, we laughed. um I do agree with my mom's opinion about the movie, about like it could have used more of Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool, because the whole flashback thing kind of slows down the film. She's not wrong. She's not wrong. She isn't wrong at all. But but it's, for what it was, a low budget Marvel film. I mean, I think Ryan Reynolds said it best, and I love that Ryan Reynolds said this because he's not wrong about this. He talks about, like, the more money you have in a budget, it's the more likely your movie's not is gonna fail. Because he says that the reason why people have more money in the budget is because people are more focused on spectacle more than actual character development and creativity with story. And he's right. I say Ryan Reynolds is right about that. The more budget you have, the less likely you're going to have anything creative about your movie. Like, what can you do with a low budget and get creative with it? And that's like the truth. If I ever heard of it, like, oh, what are you gonna do with a low budget? Just be creative. Do something with it. Just do something creative with this. if you only have this X amount of money. And he is right. There were a lot of times uh, where Deadpool has like this little amount of money in a budget to keep things simple, and kind of like the Robert Rodriguez method of low budget. Oh, it's technically the John Carpenter method, because John Carpenter has low budget films that he gets creative with what the tools he has. Also, that Robert Rodriguez got inspired from John Carpenter to do so with that. Uh, how do you make a good movie with this amount of budget? And a lot of movies who don't have a big budget, like a lot of directors who start out with a small budget of a movie, it does get those creativity juices out of wondering what can we do with this, and it usually comes out perfectly. You gotta get creative with it. You can't do like a big action scene or anything. Just have the tools to your disposal of what you can do, and then boom, you're in the money. And good on Ryan Reynolds for keeping that that same feeling, that same, I guess, original recipe, if I'm going to say it, of Deadpool being part of the MCU now. I mean, I will say that there is some studio interference in some parts of the movie. Not major studio interference, thank God. Uh, there is there's only little uh interference with it, and it does look like Ryan Reynolds had a lot of control. He was satisfied with what he did with this movie, and I'm satisfied with what he did with this movie. I feel like without him, this movie would have probably been trash. It probably would have been trash and rated, if it was rated PG-13, or if Marvel completely took over that movie and just ran it to the ground. But they didn't. Maybe they learned their lesson with other Marvel movies, and they're trying to take this ballsy risk with Deadpool just to get things back on track to make Marvel better. And Deadpool might be, hopefully, bringing the MCU back on track to being great again. I'm using a Trump quote. That's weird. um, and it's so far, this is probably the best MCU movie I've probably seen in a long time. Name. Guardians Volume 3 was okay. I liked it. I thought it was good. Uh, but I think this might hopefully get the MCU going. I'm not sure how Captain America's gonna go. It looks okay. Like, Red Hulk looks cool. But then again, all they just did was get the original Hulk CGI model, make him red, and that's it. that's that's probably it. Maybe the face as well. Maybe it's gonna look like a steroid looking Harrison Ford. Alright. I don't know why Harrison Ford. You could have gotten Sam Elliott back as the general, because he was the general in freaking the Ang Lee Hulk movie. You could have gotten him back. I would have believed it. That he came back as Sam Elliott after sadly the other actor passed away. Hey, I mean, you can replace that actor, but you couldn't replace Chadwick Boseman. I mean, yeah, I get it, because don't soil his memory, but we have recasted before in the past, and people act like it's a bad thing. I don't know, that's just me. Uh, I'm rambling again. Man, I'm rambling again. This was fun. This was like a big homage to my childhood in this movie. I think it's a big homage to me, who loved growing up with these Marvel movies when he was a kid, when he saw X-Men, when he saw Spider-Man on the big screen, and when he saw Blade as my dad tried to terrorize me with a bunch of horrific scenes from that movie just to traumatize me. Then eventually I watched those movies again, and I think they're pretty cool. uh, it's been a ride, and probably the last time those actors are going to play those characters again. I mean, one, I'm not going to get into spoilers with one character. I mean, I already spoiled Blade, but hey, Blade, everyone had to know Blade was in the movie. But one character I was so surprised of seeing, because God, they were really trying to get that movie off the ground with this person, and he never got his shot as this character. And seeing him as that character, I mean, he did a lot better than another actor who played that character, and I can tell you this, he was decent. He got to wear the outfit and everything. That was, man, that was that was like surprising to me. I was like, hey, you got to do it after years of trying to get that movie off the ground that you never got to do. You finally got to somewhat do it in the form of a Deadpool movie. So that was pretty cool. If he ever gets to do his own film as that character, awesome. I can't wait to see him as that character. Because, hell, he's been wanting a chance, and he finally got that chance. I bet he's happy that he's doing a role of a movie that isn't typical of him, that's nothing but a cameo. At least it's like a longer cameo than what he's done in recent times. But yeah, I don't know if you guys figured out who I'm talking about, but hey, I'm glad. I'm glad he got to be in this movie to do his role. uh, it's great to see this back. Just all the memories of X-Men just flooding into me with seeing, like, which is crazy to see these actors back, like them agreeing to do this again, saying like, yeah, I'll do this character again, whatever it be, a short role or a big role, to be in the entire movie in whatever shape or form. I bet they were glad they're back. Hell, I bet Ray Park was probably glad that he came back as Toad. At least I think that's Ray Park. I know for damn sure that's not the same actor who played Juggernaut in Last Stand. That is definitely not Vinnie Jones. That is a different actor entirely. Because I was like, the entire film, when I saw Juggernaut's face, I was like thinking, that's not him, is it? That can't be Vinnie Jones now. I was like trying to figure out who the fuck it was. I was like, who the hell is that? And I had to look it up on my phone. Like, who was Juggernaut? And it was not Vinnie Jones, that's for sure. It was Jason Fleming, which honestly shocks me. I'm like, wow, Jason Fleming finally doing an American Hollywood film after all these years. I know that's pretty mean of me to say, but if you know Jason Fleming, he's been doing these Russian / Chinese films for the past God knows how many years he's been doing it. And I was like shocked to see his name. I was like, wow, they got you back in Hollywood. uh, which is so weird to see him in that Juggernaut costume looking jacked. Which, that's probably a fake jacked. He's probably fake jacked. That's probably prosthetics and everything. I mean, he was fake jacked before. He was in the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and he was Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So I guess it's not out of the ordinary for him. But yeah, I say, Deadpool and Wolverine, as people described it, it is a love letter to this 20th Century Fox days of Marvel, or I would say more specifically, it's a homage to Marvel movies in general back in the late 90s and early 2000s, where we weren't concerned about a big cinematic universe. We were more focused on like each character that was in comics. Like, it was more like, let's focus on that character and that character only, and not constantly shove your face in that we're in a cinematic universe and have cameos and be less about that character. Because I'm glad that this movie is like, this is a Wolverine and Deadpool movie first. We're not gonna go and constantly berate you with cameos to make you feel like this isn't a Deadpool movie. This is a Deadpool movie first and foremost, and thank God for that. And Wolverine movie. That's the positives I have to say. There's no flaw, there's no negatives. I had a fun time across the board. Soundtrack is great too. I was scared because when I saw the track list on the Deadpool and Wolverine movie, I was like, where's Madonna? Please tell me Madonna plays in this movie. Because they played Like a Prayer in the trailer, and I was like, please tell me they play that song in the movie. I was going to be so depressed if they didn't. And thank God they did. I was like scared thinking that song was not going to be in the film. Because seeing that shot of like them walking in slow motion about to like fight the Deadpools, I was like, please tell me they play this song. And they did. And I'm glad that they played that song. I was so happy. Like a Prayer by Madonna played in the movie. I was like, thank you, God. There. And it's been stuck in my freaking head ever since I walked out of that movie theater. It's been stuck in my head. And I can't get it out of my head. I'm like, God, that song is gonna be stuck in my head for a long time. At least it's stuck in my head more than the TikTok audio songs I've been hearing recently, like Sabrina Carpenter and Chappelle Roan, which there's nothing wrong with them. I'm not saying they're bad. I just am getting sick and tired sometimes of hearing the same song over and over again be stuck in my head. At least I have Madonna now to help me. Madonna saved me. Madonna and Deadpool saved me. Is this one better than... I'm going to try to say, like, is this better than Deadpool 2? I don't know. Deadpool 2 is, I say, has a lot of things going for it. I say better villain, in my opinion, which was technically like a study of who actually is the villain and preventing one person's future not to be ruined by being a killer. Luckily, yeah, that's the whole point of the movie. I think villain wise, that movie had a better villain. I don't think Charles Xavier's sister was that much of an interesting villain, in my opinion. Kind of hit and miss for me. I mean, like what she does, like with her like telekinetic powers, of what she does, pretty cool. Honestly, cool effect and cool, like, interesting thing. I never heard of this sister before, Charles Xavier, until now. I only knew that in the comics that Juggernaut was actually Charles Xavier's brother uh, a while back ago. When I heard that, I'm like, are they brothers in this one? And technically, they're not. Probably in Last Stand, um, and I thought there was a cool she has a cool look concept to her. Just execution of her character is kind of in my opinion. Yeah, no, that's I think Russell was better because you felt like, yeah, that is a good villain. Had the pain of like suffering from this creepy religious group and then turns into a villain that later is the reason why Cable wants to kill you know the kid. I thought was better of a villain. I say he's the better villain in the Deadpool trilogy. Francis is fine, but Francis is a basic generic villain that is stuck in a Deadpool movie and he's annoyed with him, and that's it. But the only thing he got going for him that's funny is that his name is Francis. is and that his villain name was a laundry detergent. um, and I think Deadpool 2 is the better villain, in my opinion. And a lot of good things I say about Deadpool 2 did better. Deadpool and Wolverine's still good, don't get me wrong. I still think Deadpool 2 is still the best. uh, Deadpool wise, it's the best. But this one, because of Wolverine in it, it's actually pretty cool. I know. It's up to debate for me at this point on which is better. Once Deadpool and Wolverine comes out on digital or physical, I'm gonna marathon that Deadpool trilogy to decide for myself which is the best Deadpool movie and see where it goes from there. But anyway, I say this movie gets definitely not perfect 10, but a 9 out of 10. It's not a point. I mean, what's more? 9.9? Would that work? Would that suffice? I mean, a solid 9. A solid 9 out of 10 is uh is that for me. I say it's that for me cuz I like the movie, but there is that one thing, I'm sorry, the villain, that kind of prevents it for me to give it a perfect 10. A perfect 10, that's my opinion. I'm just saying that there were some things that didn't work, and I think it's mainly villain. And the villain, that's it. The villain is the one thing that kind of doesn't work for me in the movie. That kind of like goes for me. is all. Oh, I don't know. That's just me. That's my opinion. I'm sorry. After Deadpool 2, I thought villain was better in that one. And then again, who's to say who the villain is in that movie? The villain is basically the one creepy jackass from that place that tortured the kids. Obviously, he's the real villain. But Russell, he is technically in uh, the process of becoming a villain and preventing him to be that villain is still better. I know that's just me, I guess. I think it had more layers to that with a villain than this. I feel like there was not much with that character with Xavier's sister. Like she just comes and goes and she's not in the movie that much at all. She's just an afterthought at that point. I mean, you can say, yeah, the villain is the fucking Paradox dude from the TVA, but even he's just meh, at least. He's like, eh. So that's, I don't know. I'm sorry, that's just me. It's kind of like the same thing with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I thought the villain was eh also. Like, I liked freaking Star-Lord facing off his father, who was a complete asshole. Like, that was better. And the villain in Volume 3, he's just like this he's just this egotistical guy that just is playing God because he thinks he's superior to everyone else to make the perfect species. That's it. That's all he is. It's kind of eh to me with that villain, and eh for me with this villain, which is weird. Those are both third movies in a trilogy. And that's just me. You can say that I'm like, well, if you don't understand, if you read the comics, and I'm sure the comics did it better, just not here. There. Sorry if I didn't give it a perfect 10. It's a 9 out of 10 for me. I enjoyed the film. I loved it. I had a great time. I had a lovely time with this movie. Brought me close back to the childhood and made me feel like an old man realizing how old these movies are now. Oh, it's like this X-Men trilogy will never die. This X-Men franchise, not trilogy. Like this X-Men franchise will never die at all. This franchise will never freaking die. X-Men is here to stay forever because of Deadpool. Oh. If X-Men will be forever the longest running franchise known to man to cross over with the MCU. Anyway, thank you guys for watching or listening me ramble. That's probably gonna be the title. Wolf rambles about Marvel, early 2000s Marvel movies. Oh, and this is a review to Deadpool and Wolverine. That's gonna be the long time. I don't know if that's gonna fit, but we'll see. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao, dogs. Remember, you're loved. When you call my name, it's like the little